Alright, what's up A1? I am currently laying in my hotel room in Houston. Just got done with my first job interview and they offered me a position, but I still have 2 interviews left, so I'm going to see how all that plays out. So, hopefully that quiz went well and it was super easy. The next in conic sections, we're going to do circles, okay? So, to get started, remember we have our distance formula. Well, if you take your distance formula and you square both sides, you'd get x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared equals d squared. Well, that formula is very similar to the equation of a circle, okay? So, that's the point of that. It's just to help you remember the distance formula / remember the equation of a circle. All right. Above in red right there, that is our equation of a circle. I'm going to write it again down in the definitions in the bottom. But you have x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So a circle is the set of all points equidistant from a given point, the center, which is h and k, just like the vertex of a parabola. We use the symbols h and k in a plane. The equation for a circle with the center hk and radius r for all points is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Okay? So, as we do these problems here, I definitely recommend getting a sheet of paper, a spare sheet of paper, to do these problems on, because there's just not a lot of room on this sheet. Okay, so if you need to hit pause now, get out that extra sheet of paper, that would be great. Okay, so problem number 1, we're given our center and our radius. Well, if we're given our center and our radius, there's nothing else that we have to do. We can just plug that into our formula, because that's all right. I wrote that in the notes. What you're trying to find is your center and your radius. Well, if it's given, you can just plug in the formula. You'll have x minus 8 squared plus y plus 3 squared equals 36. All right, remember, since it's x minus h, that makes it a negative 8, and since it's y minus k minus a negative 3 makes it a plus 3, then r squared, we square the 6, and we get 36. All right, so if you look at problem number 2, that's the exact same way. You're given everything you need, so you're going to have x minus 5 squared plus y minus a negative 6 squared would be plus 6 squared equals 16. Okay. Nice and easy. Well, as we get into the next problem, we have our center and the line that it passes, or the point that it passes through. So from that center to that point where our circle passes through, that would be our radius. So to get that radius, we need to use our distance formula with those 2 points. That's why the first thing we do is distance and midpoint. So, with our center and a point that our circle passes through, we can find that radius. Alright, so if you plug those numbers in, you get the square root of negative 5 plus 9 squared plus 2 minus 6 squared equals square root of 16 plus 16 equals r equals square root of 32. So now we can write our equation of the circle. And I'll have x plus 5 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 32. So the 5 and the negative 2 comes from the center that I was already given. And then if r equals the square root of 32, since our formula is it equals r squared, when we square the square root of 32, it just leaves us with 32. Okay. Number 4, this is where we switch over. This is where you definitely are going to need an extra sheet of paper because there's just too much work. All right. So, the next problem, I'm given the point 66 and the point 1012. All right, so those yellow dots, I drew this, I wanted to show you it visually so you could see what I'm talking about when I say the two endpoints of a diameter. So those yellow points would be the two endpoints, okay? So, to find our midpoint, or our center, we would have to use the midpoint formula. So, using my midpoint formula, I get that my center is 8, 9. Okay, well, if we need our center and our radius, and I've found my center, well, now all I have to do is find my radius. So at this point, you can use either endpoint of the diameter. You can use 6, 6 or 10, 12, and plug it into your distance formula with the center 8, 9. It doesn't matter which endpoint you use. I circled 6, 6, and I'm going to use that with my center 8, 9 and my distance formula. A common mistake that people make is they use the distance formula and you do both endpoints of the diameter. When you do that, you're not finding the radius, you're finding the distance of the diameter. So, if you do that, you need to divide the distance of the diameter by 2, and that would give you your radius. It's not ideal, especially when you get irrational numbers, but if you get a rational number, it works out fine. But so I'm going to use 6, 6 and 8, 9. All right. So plug that in my distance formula, and I get my radius is the square root of 13. All right. And remember, you can pause at any point in this to pause it and write this stuff down. Okay. So now to write my equation of the circle, I'll have x minus 8 squared plus y minus 9 squared equals 13. Remember, if the radius is square root of 13, when we square that, it just leaves you with the 13. Alright, isn't this fun? Love circles. Big circle guy. Alright, next problem number 5. I'm given my center, and I'm told that it's tangent to the x-axis. When something is tangent to the x-axis, that means it is touching the x-axis. It is touching the x-axis. So, if I have my center, ooh, too fast, too much. Let me go back. So, if I have my center at 3, 6, and my circle is touching the x-axis, it means it's touching at that green dot on the x-axis right there. That means my radius is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so my radius is 6. You don't have to draw it. It can help to draw it. That's fine to draw it. There's nothing wrong to draw it. Nothing wrong with drawing it. But when you're tangent to the x-axis, it's going to be that y value. And if you're tangent to the y-axis, it's going to be that x value. So, once we have that our radius is 6, we can plug all that into our equation of the circle. And we have our equation of the circle. I drew this circle out. I just want to show it to you visually. You do not have to do that. That is not a requirement, okay? 6. My center's at -4, -7. And it is tangent to the line x equals 2. Remember, x equals 2 is a vertical line going through 2 on the x-axis. So, purple dot's my center. That red dotted line is what my circle, or is where my circle touches. So, That means my circle goes through that point right there, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 away from my center. Okay. So, again, like I said earlier, if it's tangent to the y-axis, well, that's the same thing as a vertical line. Well, so that would be from -4 to 0, then you add an extra 2 there. So this one is definitely tougher to see without drawing it. And there's nothing wrong with drawing it. But now I have everything I need. I can plug it into my equation of the circle. Boom. And I got that. Alright, so above is what I drew on how you could get the radius algebraically. From there to there, it's going to be 4 plus 2, which gives you 6. Alright. Again, don't be afraid to push pause. Number 7. Center. Tangent to y equals -4. So I've got my center is at -2, 8. It is touching y equals -4. Remember, y equals -4 is a horizontal line through -4. So if I'm touching, well, this in this case, this would be 8 plus 4, which would give me 12. Or you could draw it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Alright. So it's a big old circle. So now I got everything I need. I got x plus 2 squared plus y minus 8 squared equals 144, 12 squared. And I drew that circle because I'm cool like that. Ooh, number 8. Change the colors up on you. Given my center is 7, 7. And it goes through the point 12, 9. And I need to find my radius. So this one's not too bad. What formula do you need to use to get this solution, Lauren? Distance formula. That's perfect. Good. So I'll have 7 minus 12 squared plus 7 minus 9 squared, which gives me a distance of radius of square root of 29. Plug that in. X minus 7 squared plus y minus 7 squared equals 29. Good, good, good. So, next problem, number 9, given 2 endpoints of the diameter. Alright, so if we have 2 endpoints of the diameter, what formula do we need to use first? Good, Kinsey. We need to use our midpoint formula to find the center. So, I do my midpoint formula. I get my center is 2, 1. Now that I have my center, what formula do I need to use now to get my radius? Good, Anderson. I need to use my distance formula. Does it matter which point that I use, Mercer? Well, it does matter if I use a center, you're right. But I can use either endpoint of the diameter. Good, good, good. Alright, so I used 8,4. No reason why, other than 84 was Randy Moss's number. That's kind of cool. So I've got 2 minus 8 squared plus 1 minus 4 squared. That gives me radius, a square root of 45. So my answer would be x minus 2 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 45. All right, don't be afraid to pause it. All right, next the graphing part. So, graphing here. We have our equation of the circle. We just need to pull everything out. Well, my center, remember it's x minus h, so that means h is actually 3. There's nothing there for y. There's no k, so that means it's 0. It also means that r squared is 9. So if r squared is 9, we square root it, and we get r is 3. So plot my center. I'm up 3, right 3, down 3, left 3. And I have my circle. Problem number 2. My center, well, there's no h on this one, so h is 0. Remember, it's y minus k, so if that's plus 5, that means it's a negative 5. And then r squared is 4, so r is 2. Mark my center, up 2, right 2, down 2, left 2. And I have my circle. Bet y'all can't draw circles as good as mine. All right. Number 3. Alright, now I do have an h and a k, so x minus h, so that means that's a positive 1. And y minus k means that's a negative 3. And my radius equals, so 9 is r squared, so r is 3. So, for my center, I will be up 3, right 3, down 3, left 3. And I have my perfect circle, better than yours. Alright, well that is my Doceri concept guide from Houston. So you have a homework sheet. It's just like this. Do the best you can. We'll go over it next class. It is due for homework. I am going to check it, Kyle. Yeah, so look forward to seeing y'all on Thursday. Peace.